Nobody ruins their potential on purpose. Nobody wakes up and says, "Today I'm going to settle." It happens quietly. It happens in lunch tables, group chats, or in late night calls that go nowhere. It happens when you laugh at things that you don't even find funny. When you pretend you don't care about your goals. When you shrink just a little to fit in. And one day you look up and you don't even recognize who you're becoming. Not because you're evil, not because you're lazy, because you chose the wrong circle. Nobody tells you that making the wrong friends doesn't feel wrong at first. It feels fun. It feels like you're finally belonging somewhere, especially when you're young. You don't choose friends based on values. You choose them based on proximity. Who sits near you, who plays the same game, who laughs at the same memes, the jokes, and slowly you build a circle. But here's what nobody explains. While you're building your circle is building you. There's a reason people say, "Show me your friends and I'll show you your future." At first, it sounds dramatic, but then you look around. If your friends skip responsibilities, you start skipping. If they don't care about improvement, you stop trying to improve. If they mock ambition, you hide yours. Because nobody wants to be the tryhard. Nobody wants to be the one who changed. So you lower your standards. You laugh when they clown the kid who's working hard. You pretend your dreams aren't serious. You act like mediocrity is cool. And it feels harmless until 5 years pass. And they're in the same place, but so are you. Wrong friends rarely drag you down dramatically. It's subtle. It sounds like, "Why are you studying so much?" It's not that serious. Skip it. You changed. That one hits the hardest. You've changed. But here's the truth. You're supposed to change. Growth requires change. But to people who aren't growing, growth feels like betrayal. And most people fold right there. Because losing friends feels worse than losing potential. At least in the moment. Here's the part nobody talks about. Sometimes you know they're wrong for you, but you stay. Because being alone is uncomfortable. You'd rather be surrounded and stagnant than alone and evolving. When you start pulling away, it gets quiet. Friday nights feel empty. The group chat slows down. Invites stop coming. And then you start questioning yourself. Am I overreacting? Maybe I'm being dramatic. Maybe they're not that bad. But deep down, you know. You always knew. Let me paint you a picture. There was this guy. Let's call him Marcus. Marcus wasn't dumb. He had ideas. He had ambition. But his friends? They lived for the weekend. Every Friday was the same. Same spot, same jokes, same conversations about nothing. At first, it felt normal. When Marcus talked about starting something, a channel, a business idea, or improving himself, they laughed. Not aggressively, but just enough. "Bro, you're overthinking it. Relax. Why are you acting different?" So he stopped bringing it up. He started matching their energy instead. If they skipped something important, he skipped it too. If they didn't care, he pretended not to care. Months passed. Then a year. One day, Marcus ran into an old classmate. The classmate had started something small. Just a little project online. It wasn't huge, but it was growing. And Marcus felt something uncomfortable. Not jealousy, but regret. Because he realized something. He didn't fail because he couldn't do it. He failed because he adjusted himself to people who weren't trying. And the worst part, his friends didn't mean to hold him back. They just didn't want to feel left behind. So they kept everyone on the same level. Marcus eventually left that circle. And for a while, he was alone. No constant notifications. No Friday invites. No noise. Just silence. But in that silence, he built. And years later, he realized something powerful. The loneliest season of his life was the most productive one. Be honest with yourself. After hanging out with them, do you feel energized, focused, inspired, or do you feel drained, smaller, distracted? If they only like you when you're unserious, if they clown your discipline, if they pressure you into decisions you wouldn't make alone, that's not loyalty. That's insecurity. Real friends don't compete with your growth. They protect it. They don't laugh at your ambition. They push it further. You cannot build discipline in an environment that glorifies laziness. You cannot build focus in constant distraction. You cannot build confidence around people who secretly hope that you don't surpass them. Energy transfers, mindsets transfer, and standards transfer. You're not immune to influence. Nobody's immune to that. If you sit in the wrong room long enough, you'll start speaking its language. There was a time I thought loyalty meant staying no matter what. Even when I felt myself shrinking. Even when I knew I was hiding parts of who I wanted to become. I laughed at jokes I didn't find funny. I downplayed my goals. I acted like effort wasn't cool. And slowly I started becoming someone I didn't even respect. Not because I was a bad person, but because I adapted to survive socially. Humans are built to adapt. And sometimes that adaptation may cost you your future. The moment you decide, I want more, everything shifts. Some people will distance themselves, not because you hurt them, but because your direction changed. Some friends are built on shared comfort. The second you leave that comfort zone, the connection weakens, and that hurts. But ask yourself this: would you rather lose comfort that is temporary or lose long-term potential? When you upgrade your circle, everything changes. Your conversations shift. Your goals become normal. Hard work becomes respected. Suddenly, growth feels easier. Not because the work changed, but because the environment did. You stop fighting your surroundings and start flowing with them. You don't choose your future once. You choose it every single day by choosing who you sit next to, who you text, who you listen to, and who you let influence your standards. Your friends are either multipliers or limiters. There's no neutral. If you feel stuck right now, don't just look at your habits. Look at your circle. Sometimes the reason you can't rise is because you're surrounded by anchors. Anchors don't hate you. They just can't float. You're not wrong for wanting more. You're not fake for evolving. You're not disloyal for growing. But you're responsible for who you stay around. 5 years from now, you will either thank your circle or wish you had chosen differently. Choose carefully.